All right. Yeah, if people are not talking, can you go on a mute, please? So let me put it on a mute as well. All right. Once again, good evening. Welcome to Singapore Marketers Group and Vijayawada Marketers Group. Myself, Anindra, and I'm a group leader with Singapore. And I have co-leader Prashant, and he is managing Vijayawada Marketing Cloud Account Engagement Groups. And today, our speakers, Naveen. Naveen is a marketing cloud architect, which is in SIXT Germany. And myself, Anindra, I'm based out of Singapore, and Prashant is based out of Vijayawada. So today our topic is, we are going to go through a list of all the APIs in Marketing Cloud. And we will talk about a couple of real-time use cases that what we have worked so far. Of course, with my experience and Naveen's experience, we would like to go through a couple of use cases with the common fundamental use cases with different third-party systems with Marketing Cloud. And we'll distinguish what is the best API to go ahead with, what are all the best possible use cases, and we'll have some demo directly. So without any delay, I'd like to thank you for all for joining on this heavy, hectic schedule on Thursday. And so we have a Dreamforce coming in next week. So looking forward, if anyone joining into the Dreamforce, just ping us. So we'll happy to meet you them in Dreamforce directly. And if anyone is not joining, and virtually there's a Salesforce Plus, where everyone can access all the Dreamforce speaker sessions, the keynote, everything is available under Salesforce Plus. And most important thing, I think this is something which let everyone understand the community that what we are doing it. And if we could broader the community topics that what we are delivering to the community, so that gives a lot of value addition so that other people can know what we are doing it. So all throughout the session, if you could just mention in the Twitch with the hashtag, and probably you could stand a chance to win a certification voucher. And along with, we have a quiz at the end of the session, where we would like to give some sort of vouchers for everyone who won the quiz. All right. And along with, I'll just stay a second here so that you could collect the respective Twitter accounts here, the people who organizing the event and the speakers, Naveen and myself and Prashant, along with the Trailblazer community. And today's session agenda, we are going to cover multiple topics here. The number one, which we are going through with the overview of APIs and types of APIs, along with what is the REST API in Marketing Cloud, what is the SOAP APIs in Marketing Cloud, and what are the various use cases which you could leverage both the APIs, a kind of a demo, and followed by quiz and any questions and answers. And we could do vouchers distribution as well. So directly we have a quiz. After quiz, I'll take an email IDs of everyone who won the quiz, and then I'll directly give vouchers in a specified template. And if anyone has any questions and answers, so feel free to ping us in chat, or you can directly ask at the end of the session as well, right? And I'll once again I'll give the entire hand over to Naveen. And today Naveen is our Marketing Cloud architect, and he's working in Germany in SIXT. It's one of the car rental company, and he's managing all the marketing channel, the Marketing Cloud initiation over there. And today he's going to talk about the entire Marketing Cloud APIs, along with different use cases that what we talked about, right? I'll hand it over to Naveen. Naveen, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the intro. Hi everyone. I'm just sharing the screen, so let me know once everyone can able to see the screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for yeah, once again, hi everyone. So myself Naveen, working part of Sixth, and today's session we'll talk about what is API and how we are leveraging Marketing Cloud APIs. So that's pretty much we will talk about. So first, let's talk about overview of APIs. So first, to understand Marketing Cloud APIs, let's understand what is API. So now, API stands for Application Programming Interface. here, application is referred to software kind of, and then interface is like there is a contract between two system or application which can communicate each other so that they can pass the data or they can send the data to one system to another. Yeah. So just to give you a sample example over here. So imagine that you have a mobile app of viewing the weather, basically. So this weather app is a mobile, which is, let's say we call it as a client. And when you type in a search of, let's say, in India, Hyderabad. So then when you put a type in a place of Hyderabad, it sends a request to a server. And the server returns back with the response of what is the weather in Hyderabad, basically. So if you take if you take a look at this example, so in this case, the application which is sending the request is called client, and in this case, it's nothing but the mobile. And the application which is sending the response is called server. In this case, there will be some backend server which will look for this input and collect what is the weather details for that particular place. So that thing, we call it a server. So that's the interaction which is happening. Then, as I mentioned, there is a contract between the two applications. So the contract is nothing but the server will expect the input request in a particular format, and then the server can return the response. So that we call it as a contract. So yeah, so in this case, basically client and the server interact with each other, and then to process a particular or achieve a particular use cases. So that's where the API stands for. Yeah, basically people are using it for getting the data from different system and showing the response back to the customer or even for further processing. So that's the overview of API. So just to show in a diagrammatic way, so you have a browser, and then your request sends back to the server, and then it checks in database, and then it returns back the response. In this case, the browser is a client, and then you have a server, and then the client makes a request to a server via the particular contract, and that server returns back the response and send it back to the browser, and it displays the output, basically. So yeah, this is just in a diagrammatic way. So now we know, okay, we know that API is like interacting two systems with each other and getting a request and retrieving the response and stuff like that. So, but what are the different types of APIs we have? So in this case, I mean, there are many other ways as well nowadays, but just to give a picture of mostly used different ways of APIs. So it's like one is SOAP API. This SOAP API is nothing but a simple object access protocol, which exchange the information or messages between the client and server using an XML format. So this API has been widely used previously, but now we are using REST API mostly due to simplicity in natures. But yeah, SOAP APIs, there are also systems still uses SOAP APIs. And there is something called RCP API, which is like RCP is nothing but remote procedure call. So how this one works is like generally you will call the API whenever you need, but this is like you can define it where publicly, and any system can able to call the particular method and with the parameters inside that, and then it will return a response. So we call it as proto. So there will be a proto, and you have to pass the contract according to that proto of what is the params which is expecting, and then it will return back the response. So basically, it will store in a public, publicly in the sense like within a system publicly, and 3 or 4 systems can able to interact with that API in a simultaneous fashion. So that's our RCP, RPC, sorry, and then you have REST API. So this is nowadays commonly used API, so which will return in a JSON format. So because it's the only main advantage is like arrays are easily there and it's more flexible, so it will return back the output in client. So these are like most widely used API. Apart from that, we have like small different types of APIs coming up, but then yeah, these are like widely used APIs. Now coming back to Marketing Cloud, what are the APIs we use in Marketing Cloud? So we use widely mostly on REST and SOAP APIs. So we'll just see a couple of things on REST and SOAP APIs and how is the methods in REST and SOAP API. So let's first get into REST API. So in REST API, you have like different types of method. So you have like HTTP GET, post, and put, and delete, and patch. So basically, HTTP GET is, as it name says, you are getting the information from source. It's just getting the information, not to modify the source itself or perform something on the source itself. So you just need to get the information from source, and you get that, and then you process in your client itself in this case. But HTTP post is like it creates a new record or request in the server itself. So that's something post. And then HTTP put is like kind of an update. You can update all the resources on the server side. You can able to update that. And HTTP delete, you can delete the resources from server. And HTTP patch is like a partial update on the resource. So the difference between put and patch is like in put, everything you can able to update, and in patch, only a partial thing can be updated. So mostly in Marketing Cloud, we don't use patch so much. We try to go with put and post and get and delete. Yeah, so those are like widely used methods in Marketing Cloud. Now coming to SOAP API methods. In SOAP API, and this is all with respect to Marketing Cloud. So in SOAP API method, there are like multiple methods it's supported. So first thing is like configure. So let's say that just to give an example, you want to create a new attribute in all subscriber list, then you can also use SOAP API to do so. But it's all configuring at the account level, not in some other level. So we will get back to on what methods are supported in which objects. That is something up for a discussion. But in generally, these methods are supported. So create is nothing but you can able to create a data extension or create a data folder and things like that. So basically it can able to create, and delete is like same fashion, delete data extension and delete folders. And describe is nothing but you can add more metadata towards a particular structure in terms of description and stuff like that. And execute is like so sometimes what will happen is like certain methods will return you the response ID, and you want to execute the response ID to perform certain things. For example, let's say you want to retrieve the click data from an email. So you will query using retrieve function of click activity, and it will return you the request, and it will return your response ID, and that response ID you need to put it in an execute call to perform the function basically. So that's something execute. And extract is like a data extract, you can say. So it will extract the file and place it into the FTP, Marketing Cloud FTP. So that's why we use extract. And get system status is nothing but like a stack status. It's like whether the system is up and down on of the whole status of the account which you are currently using. So this one you shouldn't use like every now and then. You can just check maybe every an hour or so, but it's not recommended to use every time you check the status, and if it's fine, then perform it. So it will lead into performance issues. And perform is something like if you want to perform some asynchronous processes, like if you want to run an automation via from a third-party systems and stuff like that, then you can use this perform. And query is nothing but you want to perform a query directly. You want to retrieve the data from data extension, pass it to another data extensions, or you want to retrieve the data extension and you want to first perform a query and then retrieve using the retrieve method. So that is also can be done to a third-party system. And then retrieve is like, again, as I say, you can able to retrieve how much data extensions are there, things like that you can able to do. Schedule is like you can able to schedule automation and things. Update would be like if you want to update some sort of data extensions or folders or classic emails, things like that, you can able to update it. And okay, so these are the methods which are supported. So, but you may ask that, okay, what is which objects are supported? When I mean objects are nothing but like data extension, content builder and things like that. So which objects are supported, that's something we will see it in upcoming slides. So this is regarding with respect to SOAP APIs. And then moving on. Yeah. So now, okay, so then you may ask, like, what is the difference between REST and SOAP in terms of Marketing Cloud? So Marketing Cloud doesn't support all the objects in SOAP, neither all the objects in REST. So the previous exact target version supports mostly in SOAP, and when Salesforce buys this, then they start developing mostly in REST. So so there are few objects which is supported in REST and few objects which is only supported in SOAP. For example, let's say that you want to retrieve the click data and things like that, tracking related information back to third party. You can also write some queries and put it in a file. Or let's say you want to do it in an API fashion, then you can only able to do that using SOAP APIs, not by using any of the REST APIs. But let's say that you want to retrieve some content related things from Marketing Cloud in Content Builder, then you can only able to do that in REST API, but not in SOAP APIs. So these are the difference. But in TriggerSend, it's supported. It's supported both in SOAP and REST, but others have their own things which is supported and which is not supported. So let me just go back and just show you on which objects are supported in SOAP. So you can see in the left side, these are the objects. So basically with automation, you can able to create automation, retrieve automation studio, and update an automation and performance schedule. So this object is nothing but an automation, and automation instance are nothing but an activity. So SQL activity, data extract activity. So those are like instance. So so in this, these are the objects, and in these objects, these are the methods have been supported. So when you want to have a use case, then you can come here and check if this first of all, Marketing Cloud is allowed to perform an API officially. Then you can use the SOAP and REST APIs. Now coming to REST API, you have directly all the documentation. So these are the places which are supported using the REST APIs. And if you want to look into deeper, these are the objects which is supported by REST APIs. And these are the objects here in the right-hand side that's supported by SOAP APIs. So that those were the difference between REST and SOAP API in terms of Marketing Cloud. So yeah, so before I go back to demo, just wanted to check any questions on so far.
No, ideally there are no questions.
Okay.
So you can continue with the demo. So
sure thing. Yeah. Okay, so for this purpose of demo, so first let me explain about SOAP API. As I say, SOAP API deals with XML. So in this example, we will first have a look on how to create data extension directly from an external system. So I prepared so this is how the SOAP request is. So basically, you will have a header and a body. So in this header is nothing but you can so nowadays SOAP also supports this client ID and client secret, you can use the older way, which is you can have a API user and you can use the username and password here in terms of auth token. But in our case scenario, we will use auth token. So this auth token, we will use client ID and client secret, and we'll refresh this auth token. This will be our header. And now coming to body. So as I said, this is like creation of data extension. Then it will be like create method. So in this create request, we will mention what is the customer key of data extension, name of the data extension, and whether it's sendable or not. Then if it's sendable, okay, what are the fields that has to be there? So in this case, I've just taken all the email address and subscriber key, things like that. And then once this is like sendable subscriber field. So these are the ones. And then what are the fields inside the extension we need to have? So sorry. Yeah, sorry. So what are the fields that inside the data extension needs to have? So it would be like subscriber key and let's say test field 1, email address, name, image URL. So these are the fields that I am going to create. So for now, there is no, as of now, there is no data extension in my account. So let me go back. If I don't have any folder, so I will just create it in a root folder. As of now, there is no data extension testing. So what I will do is like, first let me just retrieve the access token. So I have client ID and client secret. So I will just retrieve this access token first. And I'll just place this. So here for our demo purpose, I'll just use the SOAP UI. SOAP UI is like a postman for all the SOAP requests you can able to do. So first I'll click on run. So it says 200 okay. And if you look at this XML, so this is the request and this is the response which got created. And the status says okay, and messages like data extension created, and what is the data extension created, which is test data extension testing. So let's just go back and see if we have a data extension got created called testing. So yeah, so now it got created. And if I check the fields, so email address is related. Oh, okay, and then subscriber key, test field 1, email address, name, and image URL. So so like this, you can able to create the objects, which is in this case, it's a data extension. So you may ask, okay, what is the, where do you have defined the object here? So you can see under the objects, there is something called data extension. Similarly, you can create this object same way. You can able to create business unit, create is supported. So wherever the create is supported, you can reference those objects in place. So in this case, we have just referred this object, but you can reference any object which has create supported. So yeah, that is with regards to the SOAP API. So now coming to our REST API use case. So I have a use case where I would need to retrieve all the assets. So imagine that you are migrating. Imagine that you are migrating from Marketing Cloud to some other system, or yeah, even some other system to Marketing Cloud. But in this case, or your images or your content builder images some other external system need to use actually. So you import one image inside Marketing Cloud and you create a URL basically, and that URL some other external system needs to use, maybe in mobile app or website, the same URL needs to be re-referenced somewhere. So in that case, you first need to retrieve the images of what in Marketing Cloud you have used basically. So just to explain about REST API, I think many of you might know. So first you need to have a client ID and client secret for even the REST and SOAP APIs. And you can go to install packages. So you can basically go to setup and then let me just go back. So first to create install packages to get a client ID and client secret, you can click on this setup and then you can search for install packages, and you can able to create and install packages with the client ID and client secret. So in this case, this would be the client ID and client secret. So it will basically give you a client ID and client secret and the authentication URL, what is the REST API base URL and SOAP API base URL. So, and then you will give a scope to what are all you can able to do. So this is like a first step. So once you get this first step, you can able to pass the access, the post URL here, and also have a body of grant type client credentials and pass in the client ID, client secret, and this will get you an access token. So, and then you can use this access token like for second operation. In this case, we have performed creating a data extension, but in REST API case, what we will do is like we will try to retrieve all the assets from the content builder. So since we are not going to create any new requests like we did in the SOAP API, here we are going to use the get call just to retrieve the information from the server. So for that, I'm just using the header as authorization bearer access token, and I'm having a parameter like I just need the first page. So I'll just hit this endpoint. So what it says is like, okay, so the count is like there are 533 assets are present. Out of those 533, we are only looking for the page one, and the total size of one page is 50 actually. And then if you look at the items, you will have, okay, asset type, and you will have code snippet block and display block and what is the properties and everything. But in this case, I don't want this code snippet block and emails everything, because in Marketing Cloud side, everything is an asset, but I don't want all those things. I just only need the images alone. So for that, what I've prepared is like I've created a cloud page and then I've written a code in server-side JavaScript. So I will explain the code in a bit, but just to show you. So I've created one more data extension called test asset retrieve. So in this case, all the image URL will come and the image name, whatever I inputted, will be there. The same thing they can use it for when you are doing the same approach. You can use it for the external system when you are doing. So what I will do is like, as of now, it's 0 records in place. So I'll just run this cloud page. So it will take some time. In this case, it's performing an API call to Marketing Cloud, and it is doing what here we have just done. So it makes an API call to Marketing Cloud, get the access token, and then it makes a get call, and then it retrieves the asset. But in this case, we are only retrieve the first page, but in this cloud page, we will retrieve all the we look into all 583 items, and then we will find only the images, and when we find only the images, and that will get added into data extension. So this page has been run. So now let me go back and come back again. So now there are like almost 136 records created. So you can see the image URL, everything is an image. So this is an image URL, and this is like an asset name. So if I can just copy paste and put it. So that is a car image over here. So this image, any third-party team can able to use this in their system. It can be for documentation purpose or website or app purpose. If they need to have some sort of common same image needs to be used for across the systems. So yeah, now coming back, how did we did this programmatically? So just to show you. So this is like a server-side JavaScript. So we call the API client ID and client secret. We make a HTTP post call. So which is same thing which we did first in the authentication. We made a post call. So we made a post call and we look for the status as 200. If the status is 200, we get the response. And we are passing the JSON and getting the access token and the REST instance URL. So we get this access token. And we also get there is a REST instance URL, which we need to make it for the subsequent call. So once you get this access token and REST instance URL, we check if that access token is not null. Then we make the second call, which is nothing but the get call. So in this second call, what we try to do is like we make a HTTP get call. And we pass in the URL header, which is authorization and bearer access token. So we pass everything that response. So in this response, I get the count as some number. So, and I know the page size is 50. So I'm getting the count and what is the page number and what is the 50. So I'm just dividing the count with respect to page. So in this case, it's nothing but 533 divided by 50, almost like 11 times I need to iterate. So in this case, you will get to know how much is the number of times you need to iterate. And then you again need to iterate and again pass the same get call over here. And finally, you will just do upset data or upset D. So you can add those informations. So here I've also made a filter. I have a display name only as image. So if you look at this particular data or this particular response here, so you have display name is code snippet block. So I will not look for code snippet block. Instead, I will just look for only image. So let me just go back here, search for again. So all the emails also will be coming. So all the AMP scripts will also be coming. You can also retrieve the emails like in this way, not only assets and everything. So just for okay, I think in the first page, it's not there. So we need to go to second page. You might find it there. So if I go to second page, let me just search for this. Here it's HTML block, freeform block. Yeah, then in this page as well, it's not there. So like this, you need to go to all the pages. Let's say I go to a page. Yeah, so you have the display name as image. So we will only look for this image, and then this is like a logo. And what is the published URL? This published URL is the URL which got it. So that's why that's what I'm doing this in programmatically. So in this case, I'm looking only for image, but there could be a case where it can be you want to retrieve the email altogether in a HTML fashion. So that is also something possible. You can just put a if condition and then retrieve everything, and you can store it instead of right now I'm storing inside Marketing Cloud itself, but you can always store it wherever you in your system you wanted to. So this is about just retrieving the information from Marketing Cloud to external system. Now I have one more example, which is basically to send out an real-time email. So in this case, we are using transactional API. So let's say you as a customer comes into some web page and you fill up a simple form. and you want to receive an immediate welcome email as such. Then in this case, so let's say I come here and then I give my name, this, and then I will enter today's thing and so I'll click on submit. So once I click on submit, it says, okay, error code is 0 and you get the response as success. Okay, so now I go back to upmail.com and I put this email address here. So you can see that thank you for sign up. Please confirm your email address. Thank you, Salesforce. So this email immediately came in almost in seconds whenever you submit the forms. So how do we do this? Again, via REST API. So you can, so this one we have, so again via REST API. So you capture the email, first name, last name, and then you make an authentication call. And that after authentication call is success, then you make again one more post call. So in this case, we use a different message. So in this case, there is a URL called V1 email messages, and we pass that one, and then with all the header and values. So in this case, we need to define the definition key, what is the subscriber key, and what is the email address, and with some personalization value of first name and last name. So once you define everything and you put it in a payload, and then you make a HTTP post call, and then we check if everything is success, then return the response and things like that. So that's what we do here to send out real-time email. Now imagine that if external systems are going to call this, then they need to interact with these REST APIs. The concept is same, but it's just that there will be instead of doing in server-side JavaScript, they have to do it in their own language. But the API concept is like more or less the same. So first you will get the access token, and then from the access token, you will call a particular another URL with some unique parameters in it, and pass all the personalized attributes in it. Then you will receive an email. So yeah, I think these are the three things which I wanted to show for the demo. But then, yeah, I'm happy to answer some questions.
I think there are some few questions, Naveen. So the first question from Muthu is, how to upload the image using API in Marketing Cloud?
Okay. Okay, how to upload an image? Yeah, so so basically here, as I say, right, so you can look for REST API, and you want to, let's say, assets. Yeah, so you this would be an asset, so you can look for this, and then but let me find to upload. Yeah, so you can go to create asset API, and in this create asset API, you will get the list of things that you want to pass in here, and then it's basically a post call. In this post call, you need to call this particular endpoint, and you create whatever the customer key you feel like. An asset type is nothing but an image or HTML image in that, and then you can also import that will get added into Marketing Cloud, basically. So you can just follow the REST API documentation. So whatever I followed is something like a get, which is like retrieve assets using retrieving the assets, but you can also use create asset page to call and make a post call out instead of get call out and do it.
Okay, so I think we'll talk about a couple of use cases. I mean, so I think in today's session, right, people have think about which use case or which scenario whether we should use REST and SOAP APIs, right, and RCF APIs as well. So let's take an example. I'm a person. I'm I have a company in the financial industry where I have my customers landing onto my web page of company overview or something, or a contact us page, right? So I build a profile orchestration or the registration, which contains first time, last time, email, and all. Because I'm sitting on a website, I build on my website using Sitecore or any other Drupal websites. So whenever a customer submits their information, the information will travel back to Salesforce Marketing Cloud and then sending a welcome email from Marketing Cloud. So this is the use case ideally. So what is the best API to leverage, and what are all the best practices to follow, and what is the operation that we need to follow to achieve this operation?
Yeah, correct, Fanny. So yeah, with regards to what API needs to follow, so first we need to check on the technical feasibility. If the system can only able to if the client is like they can only pass XML, then we need to go with so if I go back, so you can also use you can also use triggers, and you can see in both it supports both REST and SOAP. But then if the client only supports SOAP, I would say to do so. That's the first technical feasibility check we need to do. But let's say if they don't have a problem on passing the JSON to Marketing Cloud, then I would say we can go with REST and use transactional API, which is like more in real time, like how we showed just now. So it will come in seconds instead of trigger sense waiting for 2 minutes once, things like that. So that check of technical feasibility check that we need to do. And then the second check would be on, let's say, if you are trying to consider like a huge volume of data, let's say you're sending more than 4 MBs of data, then REST API is not supported in Marketing Cloud. You might need to go with SOAP APIs. So those type of technical checks, if we need to check, and accordingly we need to go with. But it's but in terms of performance wise, REST is better than SOAP, and it can able to have many flexibilities. It supports arrays and things like that. So if you want to talk about APIs and things, in terms of flexibility, REST is better. But we also need to consider the technical feasibility checks also there.
Okay, so as per your notes, ideally transactional API is the best one, and
Yes.
again, transactional API, which is built on based on REST principles, is ideal solution
Correct.
for making a smooth transactions, right?
Yes, correct. For transactional emails, I would suggest use REST API and transactional API. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So my second scenario would be I'm working in a financial company. Ideally, I'm working in a kind of a Remitly or kind of a money transfer company. Okay. So I went to a Remitly outlet or a Western Union outlet where I would like to send money to my friend who's in Australia. Okay. From Singapore, I went to money Western Union outlet, and then I given some amount of $300. So whenever I given an amount to Western Union agent, so how my friend who's sitting in Australia receives all these SMSs and as well as the email of the transaction completions and the deposit amount. So ideally, how we would like to interact the third-party system. Let's take an example of MuleSoft. MuleSoft is the one who managing all the operations of transactions. Okay. How we would connect the MuleSoft to Marketing Cloud to process all these transactions, because I would like to send an SMS from Marketing Cloud system whenever a transaction has been completed. So what is the best API to go ahead with this? And because look at the big companies like Western Union, right? So they do a lot of millions of transactions on an hourly, on secondly, in a minutely basis. How we would, what is the best practices to manage in Marketing Cloud to handle multiple millions of transactions inside your Marketing Cloud database, along with how you could send accurate SMSs from SFMC platform?
Yeah, correct. So in terms of like scalability wise, so what we can do is like we can create a service. When we say service, it's like kind of a wrapper towards the API. So instead of calling every time client, instead of calling, let's say you instead of calling every time this authentication token, the service can take care of, okay, I will call only if the access token is expired between after 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So so that you can avoid lot of calls, multiple calls or concurrent calls with interacting with multiple systems. So basically, you have to create a service, kind of a wrapper towards that. And all the other systems, let's say in this case, let's say you are transferring the money, and when the money gets successfully sent, whatever the system A or the client will make a will update this particular service call, and then you will pass some definition key in this case. So yeah, this definition key is like a notifier to which email or which SMS to be sent, and then that service will handle, okay, we'll call the particular marketing cloud API. Instead of each system calling a marketing cloud API in different way, you call service and then let the service handle the load and balance. So if at all you need if at all your service needs to be like much more faster, then you add more nodes to it and things like that. So I would say, yeah, that would be the approach for scaling. And also you can also put it in a batch sort of, if needed. Too much of millions of calls are happening, then marketing cloud even cannot support sometimes. In that case, you put it in a batch and you queue it, and then yeah, you can able to send those things.
Okay, all right. So from your answer, where can I conclude one thing here? In typical Salesforce platform, Naveen, so on a single API call, I could process 100 transactions. Okay. But in the same case in Marketing Cloud, typically if I'm sitting on a mule guy where I consume a REST API and then I got your request on an API structure, which is JSON, when I try to send a request to you, can the Marketing Cloud supports a bunch of 100 API calls at one transaction, or it supports only one API at a time of loading into the data into one of the data extension?
Yeah, so some API supports bulk and some API don't support bulk. So things like that, let's say in the case of transactional messaging. So let's say if I give an example here, send transactional email.
We have SMS transactional.
So yeah, so here this is definition update. Yeah, so here you have you can send in bulk, but it will it will not accept more than 500 in bulk. But it will also, but you can also send in single recipient. So both are supported. In some APIs, both are supported, but in some API only. For example, if you want to call Journey Builder API, then bulk is not supported there. So it depends upon Marketing Cloud API also. So in this case, yeah, I would say you handle the load in mule rather than in Marketing Cloud, push everything. If you are doing millions of calls, even Marketing Cloud will say end of the file error or something like that, timeout error. So it cannot able to process so many requests at once. So in that case, Salesforce will recommend you to have some batches in place. Okay, per minute you do it in these many files, these many requests, then it should work fine, something like that.
All right. So when I move back to the typical data designing perspective, so typically nowadays Snowflake is one of the good database warehouse kind of a platform to, and they're moving into cloud as well, and they're quickly supporting all the APIs going forward. So there is a scenario where I'm a data specialist where I prepared a data set inside my Snowflake with first name, last name, email address, or whatever the attributes that what I required. And that is my table inside Snowflake. And I got the data from front-end financial platform, which is nothing but any other microservices platform. When the data feeding from third party to Snowflake in a separate table, I would like to send this information back to Marketing Cloud and let the Marketing Cloud create a data extension and then feed the data from Snowflake to Marketing Cloud. is there any ability through an API which you can create a data extension and then feed the data into Marketing Cloud?
Yeah, you can able to feed it. There are like data extension, update data extension or upsert data extension API. You can able to use it. But let's say then for every update, you would need to call Marketing Cloud, which will consume too much of load. So instead of that, if you are using only for marketing activities, then I would recommend still the file upload approach instead of doing the API approach. So if because every time a customer gets updated, you might have like billions of calls every day or more than that. So it's not recommended to do so.
All right. So is there any ability that we could create a data extension, Naveen, directly inside the Marketing Cloud via an API?
Come again, Sunny, sorry.
Now, is there any ability in Marketing Cloud where can we create a data extension directly inside Marketing Cloud via an API?
Yeah, so using SOAP API, you can able to create like how we did it in now. So SOAP API, so you can able to create that as well directly.
All right. So I think Anjali, you ask your questions, right? So is it Certify through SOAP API, which we can create a data extension directly inside Salesforce Marketing Cloud? All right, Anjali. Any other questions, team? So I think, so most of the times what we do actually, when we work with a lot of enterprise companies, right, team, what will happen is, typically when we're working with third-party systems like Snowflake or any other transaction systems, so most of the times people leverage transactional API because that is where they wanted a real-time communication from Marketing Cloud. So ideally, we can have a REST API where we can hand over all the endpoints along with the token details and along with the request details. Because whenever you start thinking about an integration, you always think through about it. What are all the number of transactions on a on an hourly basis coming into the system, and what is the preferred API to go ahead with? The simple access protocol like REST is a simple one for the transformations, which is built on JSON again, which is lightweighted. And when you start working with, you have to build a data structure inside Marketing Cloud and then hand over the request. You have to try first whether you're trying to send the request to Marketing Cloud and create a record inside data extension or not via Postman. Once you've successfully done it, we would recommend to have it documented and then hand it over the third-party website team for any system. It's a third-party MuleSoft team or any other third-party system. You try first in Postman whether your API is working or not, and then hand it over the third party. Let them do it, and then you guys can test it out end to end. Most of the times, 90% times, transactional API is the most accurate one where all the requests will come. There are some situations where I think Anjali asked one question, so where the data warehouse team want to create a data extension without the involvement of Marketing Cloud teams. So that is the reason where you can use SOAP API for creating a data extension, and then you yourself feeding the data into the data extension. You don't require any Marketing Cloud teams to build it, because typically we implemented a solution where they don't have a marketing team and they would like to build a data extension from Salesforce. So you build a complete Lightning Web Components using that, and then calling SOAP API for all the parameters and then creating all those. So that is something that you could be achievable. And there are some use cases where Naveen said sending an SMS from Marketing Cloud system through an API. That is ideally is going to be through a message definition ID, which is really important. That is also a similar kind of REST API where we work on Marketing Cloud REST API, which is an API entry events, right? So these are all some of the use cases, especially in our day-to-day life where we use. But most of the times, this is the process that what we follow for all the API structure, right? So just let me know if anyone has any questions. If not, we will be jumping into a quiz session where you can grab all the certification notches for the winners. All right. So I think we will move into a quiz session. So I think Prashant. So yeah, I think we'll have some advanced sessions in future as well, Anjali. So we'll plan to have something which is really meaningful for with our daily real-time use cases. Definitely we'll have one more session. We'll discuss on all the API scenarios, and we can think through about it. I think Prashant, how to you? So, and Naveen, thank you so much for the great insights. Really appreciate the work that what you have done, showing all the POCs today. Thank you so much once again.
Yeah, thanks, Vinny. Thanks for hosting. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Prashant, over to you.
Thank you, Honey. Thanks, Naveen. I'll just start sharing my screen.
Yep.
Okay. So we have the quiz, guys. So if you don't know, you'll have to log into kahoot.it. And then, I'll share the code in a minute, in a few seconds. I think this is the one. Okay. So you can see the game pin on the screen. It's loading. Yeah, it's 4640767 is the game. Okay. I can put it in the chat. So guys, we will make sure that the email address that you are sending us matches with the logged in, your Trailblazer registered email address. Okay, so make sure give those specific email addresses. Do you have let's wait 1 to 2 more minutes and then we'll start.
And remember, team, the top 4 winners will get a certification vouchers with the cost of 200 or 400 USD. So you could leverage for any exam.